loves lasagna, hates Mondays. Only 4 words, and you all instantly know who I'm referring to. In fact, 95% of people know who I'm talking about. Conqueror of the physical and spiritual realm. A cat who possesses godlike power. The super intelligent beast who kneels for no one, including God. We've all overlooked his power for years, as we've been distracted by his cuteness and amazing merchandise. The orange tabby cat himself, Garfield. There's not many figures as iconic as him. Worldwide, he is as recognizable as Big Bird and more well known than Spider-Man. Garfield has become so popular that in 2018, the total worth of Garfield was estimated to be $800 million. Today, that number is somewhere between $750 million and $1 billion. And with the Garfield movie, starring Chris Pratt, releasing on May 24th, I thought it would be the perfect time to talk about everyone's favorite anthropomorphic cat.
I know where you live.
Garfield is a comic strip created by Jim Davis that first released on June 19th of 1978. It would originally run in 41 newspapers around the country and would instantly garner much attention. But before we get more into that, we need to look at how Jim Davis created Garfield. Davis created Garfield because he wanted to create a marketable character, and let's just say he did a pretty good job at that. Davis decided to make Garfield a cat because he felt that cats were unrepresented in the comic strip world. Garfield was then born through the cats that Davis grew up around, mashed together with the name and personality of his grandfather. But after only 1 month, Chicago would stop running the strip. But they would get so many calls, 1,300 to be exact, that they were forced to reinstate Garfield. By 1981, Garfield was running in 850 newspapers, and just a year later, that number was over 1,000. By 2002, Garfield had become the most syndicated comic strip as it ran in over 2,750 papers. While Jim Davis is the mastermind behind Garfield, he is no longer the man behind the strip. Since 1990, Brett Koth and Gary Baker have done the bulk amount of work, while Davis merchandises the character and supervises production. Davis will still help write the comics and help make TV shows, with a new one releasing later this year on Paramount+. Speaking of this year, I think it's time we discuss the Garfield movie. The Garfield movie is releasing very soon, and there is lots of talk around it. And let's be honest, most of this talk is about Chris Pratt voicing Garfield.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
As of writing this video, it has a 6.6 on IMDb with 261 reviews. I don't know how people have seen it already, but there must be some early screenings or something, or people are just making that shit up. Maybe I'll make a video for you guys when it releases. Let me know, fellas. But this is not the only Garfield movie to be made. There's also Garfield, the movie, and Garfield, Tale of Two Kitties, which are both live-action movies about the adventures of Garfield. I know I watched these as a kid, and honestly, I don't remember them at all. There are also tons of specials that have been made about Garfield, but I won't bore you with all those names. Just, look them up on Wikipedia or something if you care so much. As mentioned before, Garfield's personality is based on Jim Davis's grandfather, Garfield. Garfield is known for eating ungodly amounts of food. The cat, not the grandpa. I don't know, maybe he did. Garfield's favorite food is lasagna. Garfield is also very lazy and loves to spend his time sleeping. These two factors are the main factors of why Garfield is obese. But Garfield does also refuse to exercise or go on a diet, so it's likely Garfield will be an obese tabby for the rest of his life. Garfield once said that breathing is enough exercise for him. Garfield is also a very sarcastic cat. A lot of the humor in the strips is based around his sarcasm. He is also very manipulative of the people around him, which means Jon. Garfield has no problem with manipulating Jon to get whatever he wants, usually food. Garfield also gets much pleasure out of annoying Jon. He will tear up the drapes and any piece of furniture he comes across, and he's always actively disobeying Jon. You can always see that sly smile he has on his face when Jon is freaking out over his antics. And he keeps doing this because Jon never really gets too mad at him. He may yell and scream, but he never gets in trouble. Despite Garfield's innate sarcasm and mischievous nature, everyone seems to love the fat orange cat.
I have a question for everybody. Who wants to go to the Four Seasons Orlando?
I would be absolutely exuberated to join the family on a voyage to Four Seasons, Orlando.
I hate you,
The blend
Binky.
of luxurious amenities,
Where's my remote
top-notch
control?
service, and the proximity to Disney is going to make for an unforgettable
Take
experience.
that, Binky.
It sounds like
Ha!
Every good cat needs a good owner. On June 19th, 1978, Jon Arbuckle was introduced alongside his animal companion. It was in this strip that we learned that Jon is a cartoonist, as both him and Garfield address the readers. Jon is often very awkward and clumsy, and enjoys some very weird pastimes. He enjoys measuring his toenails, collecting stamps, and watching polka ninja movies. On many occasions, he is often shown to lack intelligence and often seems outsmarted by his own cat. Jon's personality makes him easily manipulated by Garfield. He often gets mad at him, but doesn't ever punish Garfield in any way. He also is known to have poor fashion taste and is dating Garfield's vet, Dr. Liz Wilson. And any family is not complete without a dog. Luckily, Garfield has a dog friend in Odie. Odie is a dim-witted, yellow, long-eared beagle, but even he is shown to have some moments of great intelligence. He has been known to watch An Evening with Mozart and get revenge on Garfield. Odie is often used as Garfield's punching bag, but it often seems as if he could care less. It's like he is blissfully unaware of Garfield's negativity and many other negative personality traits. Despite the long list of Garfield's negative personality traits, people still love him. There is no greater example for how much people love Garfield than the amount of Garfield merchandise there is. There are already a multitude of Garfield popcorn buckets that have been announced to be available for sale at movie theaters across the country. You can also just venture back to that anime or nerdy section, kind of by the video games in any Target, and I guarantee you will find some Garfield merch. People also like Garfield because of how the strip is structured. They often show the mundane moments in life, and Davis doesn't often include any political or societal undertones in his strips. He says that it isn't really intentional at all, and that he has just never been knowledgeable about political stuff anyways. I think this was beneficial to Garfield's success, but probably doesn't matter as much today. I feel like the Garfield crowd today is a lot of young people on the internet, myself included, that don't necessarily mind political undertones. Garfield is also a character that anyone can connect with, as he has no race, age, and his gender isn't really too important either. Davis has always used masculine pronouns to refer to Garfield, so therefore most people do refer to Garfield as a male. And Davis would eventually come out and say that Garfield is a male, but it doesn't matter as Garfield's gender never plays a huge role in the strips anyways.
We get some things.
Correction, this is the worst place I could possibly be.
Some people would argue that Garfield is a poor role model, and if he was human, he probably would be. We don't hold Garfield to high moral standards because he's a cat. Even though he has the mind of a human, we're okay with it because all we see is just a cute little kitty cat. Garfield is a perfect example of Sigmund Freud's id. Yes, the guy who thinks that everyone thinks their moms are hot. Freud's theory is that personality can be divided into 3 sections: the id, ego, and superego. The id is the selfish and impulsive parts of personality. Ego is the moral conscious, and the superego is the mediator between the two. Garfield's personality seems to be almost entirely the id part of Freud's theory, as he is super impulsive and selfish. He constantly destroys things and messes with others and often only thinks about himself. But you know, Garfield is a cat. You all know that. But why does this matter? Garfield is an animal with human thoughts, which allows for Garfield to navigate both the animal and human world. While Garfield does have a lot of negative behaviors and ideas, you can still learn something from him. Garfield is very independent, which is important sometimes, as everyone needs to have confidence in themselves. The mundane moments shown in the strip can help remind us that we can find humor and joy in almost any situation. But most importantly, Garfield teaches us the value of friendship. Now, Garfield can be mean a lot, but it's still fairly obvious that he cares about his friend Odie, and yes, he even cares about Jon. Garfield, being an animal with human thoughts and intelligence, allows for these themes to be effectively communicated. It especially makes it easier for children to understand. The act of separating characters from what readers consider to be normal makes it easier for them to reflect about what applies to their own lives. There are many examples of this in popular culture, from BoJack Horseman to Bluey, but Aesop's Fables is probably the best example. There are many fables that feature animal characters with human thoughts, just like Garfield. There's just one thing I can't get over. Why does Garfield have human thoughts? He's a cat. He shouldn't have human thoughts. We see Garfield survive amazing feats. None of this makes sense. Feats that any normal living thing should not be able to survive. It's almost like Garfield is Garfield has been run over by lawnmowers and just walked away with a nice shave. He's also had TV sets fall on him with no issues at all. So is Garfield immortal? Or is he a god? Well, the short answer is no. But Garfield is a divine being that is made in God's image. Garfield, his 9 lives.
Garfield, his 9 lives. An absolutely bizarre, fucked up piece of fiction. Half of them aren't funny. They're just artsy, scary, and disturbing. Why did you do Garfield, his 9 lives, Jim Davis? Why did you do that dark, freaky one where Garfield kills that old woman? You want to see a picture? Look at this. This is an actual picture from the book. Hey, nice to see you, Garfield. What's the matter? You a little agitated? About to commit murder? Come on, Jim. Your job is to give us yucks. A job you do damn well, make no mistake. That's why old Peter's giving you a get-out-of-jail-free card on this one. But I don't want to see another one of those. All right, because it scared the bejesus out of me, and I had to sleep with my mother for a week. I am quite finished.
Garfield, his 9 lives, takes us through a journey of Garfield's 9 lives. While originally released as a graphic novel, it was also later made into a television special. It's the television special that we're mainly going to look at, as the graphic novel ends with the whole thing being a video game or something like that, which, you know, very lame, who cares. The special has a much more lore intriguing ending. Garfield and Odie are space cadets who meet their end in battle and end up in the afterlife, standing right in front of God. There's one thing about God though. This God is a cat. In the Garfield universe, God is canonically a cat. This means that Garfield and all other cats are members of the chosen species, as they were all made in God's image. This explains how Garfield can eat an ungodly amount of food or even get run over by a lawnmower. God admits that Garfield and Odie's last death as space cadets, you know, kind of cheap, and he asks Garfield what life he was on. Garfield was on his last life, but he lies and says he was on his first. God then gives Garfield all 9 of his lives back. God asks Odie if he's a cat, to which Garfield responds, "Yeah, this guy's a cat." Odie is then also given 9 lives. Garfield is just an obese tabby cat who's often very sarcastic and self-centered. But in reality, he is much more. He possesses more power than anyone else in his world. He is a member of the chosen species made in God's image. Garfield connects the spiritual and natural world together and has been to both sides of life. He's not like us at all. It's entirely possible that he's much more intelligent than any of us could ever be. He has talked to God. And what did he do when they talked? He lied multiple times. Garfield is unstoppable. He gets away with everything he does. Not even God or death can stop him. This is why Garfield is essentially an immortal god. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you all. Have a good one.
I know where you live.